Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Breath of Fiction. Today, we'll be talking about the Demon King Tanjiro AU. And we have Dan, also known as DCC Rules, as well as.
Snacked, otherwise known as number one Gajima Bro.
Radicor, otherwise known as Chester's Desserts.
And finally, last but not least, this is Sparta 789.
I don't know why, but when you said that, my brain was like, this is Sparta, signing off.
789.
Well,
I'm
the
not
city,
signing off
the
just
city
yet.
certainly signed off in history. It got demolished.
Yeah, now they're only a small town.
That's not even the real Sparta. They moved it away from the actual Sparta.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's in Georgia now.
Well, that explains why it's so combative down there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you said we were doing the Demon King Tanjuro arc, right?
Yes. Tanjuro.
Yes.
I heard Tanjiro.
There's a lot of confusion about this one because people read it and they say, oh, but Demon King Tanjiro was such a minor thing at the end of the manga. We're like, yeah, it was. But we don't give a shit about Tanjiro. We're talking about his dad.
Yeah,
just the way you guys
the better
pronounce
Kamado, obviously.
The way you guys pronounce it, I hear the G, so that makes sense why they would say that. That's why I stressed Tanjuro. Like I stretched it out.
Tanjuro, not Tanjiro.
Tanjiro's dad. Tanjiro's dad, essentially, for those of you who are confused.
Yes.
All right, so since DGC, since this is your AU, want to give us a little background?
So the simple premise I had was just, because Tanjuro is an interesting character. We don't get a lot from him, only tidbits. And when
who's taking photos?
Oh, yeah, that's me. I'm sorry. I'm scanning my physics homework. You guys carry on.
That's all right.
We don't get to see a lot of Tanjiro, and people love to talk to me about reversal AUs because I'm kind of like the on that for some reason. It's almost like
Same. It's like people talking to me about power scaling, even though I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Don't get involved in power scaling, kids. You'll just get a bunch of arguments and headaches.
I've had 3 to 4 guys approach me and be like, hey, can you power scale this? And I'm like, oh.
Now, I think what they forget is like the circumstances of where the power is and the person who develops the power make a big difference in power scaling when you want to do it anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, I bring this up because, when you look at how do you reverse Tanjiro and Nezuko, so that Tanjiro is the demon and Nezuko is the human. In my complete reversal AU, I reverse everyone. So, going all the way back to Kaguya and Muzan. But I also had the thought of, what if it was just biological? What if Tanjiro's dad was a demon? And this is where things get complicated, because if you just simply say Tanjiro was a demon, and all of his kids are demons, wouldn't Nezuko be a demon? Unless Nezuko is his half-sister. And this is where things get fun. If you make someone a demon king, you kind of have to displace Muzan. His role in the story is filled. But how do you justify swapping Muzan and Tanjiro?
I will say that just a bit of a background for canon Tanjuro is Tanjuro, while he is dead, for those of you who don't know, he was a very prominent character in Tanjiro's life, knowing like the famed Hinokami Kagura, which is sun breathing in essence. And if from what we saw in the Infinity Fortress arc, the guy was like, even though he was a bit sickly, this guy was clearly somebody who I personally believe, because he had access to the full potential of the Hinokami Kagura, he would have kicked any of the Hashiras' asses because he had the see-through world and whatnot. In all honesty, he was a very powerful character.
Very likely.
Tanjuro, more like Gojuro.
Like, let's put it this way: if Tanjuro was alive and he had a Nichiren blade, when Muzan came to attack, Muzan's dead. There's no question about that. Or at least he's getting his head cut off and driven off till the sun, because technically he would be resistant to getting his head cut off. But he's getting his ass kicked if Tanjuro was alive. That's
and
how
while
OP
I
he
believe
is.
this, there is actually a lot of contention over this. A lot of people don't believe it.
What, on that Tanjuro was a strong character? Like, Akaza would drool over him, in all honesty. Like,
Yeah,
fighting
a
him.
lot of people don't believe that. I do.
Dare people not believe in our Lord and Savior Goat-Juro.
If
This
you
is a
said Jesus,
travesty.
I was going to yell at you.
Especially of today of all days. Wow. Shame. Easter.
Yeah.
Only one day of the year you can be worse than that.
Oh my god.
If you want to look a little more at Tanjiro's character first, I will say there are a few things we know about him that are very notable. Like you mentioned, he knew the Hino Kamikagura. He clearly showed great skill, or at least from my observations, in total concentration breathing based on the way he took down that goddamn bear.
Also,
He's
Also, it should be noted that he is like he's a very emotionally controlled person. Like, he doesn't get angry. From what
Yeah.
we've seen, we don't see him get rage. But more importantly, he has a mastery of the see-through world, so to speak. By the time when we do see him in the manga, so he's already well above Tanjiro, even in the final arc, and even above the Hashira in the final arc, because it's implied that he was able to have see-through world whenever he wanted, whereas the Hashira didn't really have control over when they had it, so to speak. So he was a very powerful character in his own right, more or less.
But also, he was a very paranoid character. His family lived in the mountains. They were very isolated, with lots and lots of defenses around their property. Furthermore, I think it's very likely he was burning wisteria incense because Tanjiro didn't even believe in demons, and his father knew demon slayer techniques. I firmly believe Tanjiro knew a lot more than he let on.
Well, I
Yeah, I
would
believe
argue. The only thing I would argue is that when you say he had a lot of defenses, that was just for the bear, and that's when they knew about it, so to speak. So it's not necessarily like
Yeah.
those bells. You can argue that they weren't there until they got the news that the bears were around. So saying that he has
Exactly.
in general defenses everywhere, I would say that's a little bit less concrete than you would say, more or less.
From my it seemed like it was more to me. I could be wrong, but this is the kind of version of the character I saw. He was also seemed like someone very intelligent and caring. So already we have a lot of differences between him and Muzan in the canon. If he's a demon king, we're looking at a demon king who cares more, is more controlled, and likely has different goals and interests than Muzan, and who's probably more powerful than Muzan.
Well, then that begs the question: how are we reversing him? Because here's the thing: when you do a reversal, you can either reverse the roles, which is what we're doing, but you could also reverse certain parts of the personality and the results in the plot, so to speak. So, do you want to say he keeps the personality he has in canon, but we reverse his role, or do you want to try to reverse some of the personality in general?
I do like generally maintaining a personality as much as one can. And for part of what I want to, and I also really want to do that specifically with Tanjuro because it makes his character that much better.
Well, I would tell you one thing. Tanjuro was definitely someone who could get a wife that was very well beyond his standards, considering how everyone says Kie is very pretty. More or
Indeed.
less.
Well, he has other uses for that hidden strength.
Oh boy.
Why else do you think he had so many kids?
I love that gag.
How many kids, indeed.
I don't know. I just sometimes imagine him like if he were alive and Tanjiro was taking a lot of crap in the Hashira, Tanjiro would just hand all the asses to the Hashira at that meeting in like 3 seconds flat, in all honesty.
Like,
Pretty
hands
much.
off my son, bro.
Yeah, get on my level, nerds.
But
Yeah.
something I was establishing earlier is placing Muzan. Now, what I think would be fun would be to make, because if we look at Muzan as a human in this scenario, I feel like the best place for him to be would really be a subordinate, but a human subordinate of Tanjuro. Maybe someone he trusts very well, someone who earned his trust, who's worked with him, who has
All right.
friends.
So what we're getting at is Muzan is still a lack of empathetic bitch, so to speak, because we know that that is his human personality even before he was a demon. Essentially, he doesn't care
Exactly.
much. So I would think that we also see that he's a survivor. So I would think that in this AU, if he's human, he's operating under I'm a servant of Tanjuro, and I'm going to get killed if I defy him. And I'm a human, he's a demon, so I can't defy him. Does that sound appropriate?
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
Or he's with. Okay, another thing I think we can think of this as maybe
actually-
Tanjiro's giving him.
No, I'm sorry. You go at first, and then I'll speak.
Juro is giving him some kind of protection that is keeping him from being killed. I don't know, like protecting him from like some other forces, and he serves under Tanjuro to like maintain those privileges.
So
Or
are
he
we
like just fears
Yeah.
being killed.
So we're saying that he's a human. Are we saying that he's still a sickly human then? And it sounds like you're implying that he kind of is.
Well, maybe he's not sick anymore because of Tanjuro, and that's why.
Exactly.
Okay, without being a demon though. So he was
Yeah.
sickly, but then Tanjuro got him unsickly, but Muzan retained his humanity then. Okay.
Yeah. So it could be, maybe Tanjuro was the doctor or something like that. He was in that position and he fucked up. He made himself a demon by accident. But he still has that medical knowledge, so he's still able to save and help people. But
certified
he's in, he
bra
can't be a
moment.
very public figure.
Certified bra moment.
He accidentally injected himself instead of injecting the patient. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're saying that.
I think.
So we're saying that in this case, if we're assuming the time period, Muzan, this was only within about, I would say, like 20, 30 years ago when he helped Muzan, Tanjuro, because Muzan's human, so to speak.
Yeah.
All
Probably
right.
around 5 to 30, I would say.
Okay, but was Tanjuro a demon well before that? Because we need demons to be a part
Yes,
of
Tanjuro would be a demon for probably close to 1,000 years.
Okay, but then he helps Muzan.
I think that's always a good timeline for demons.
Okay, but then he helps Muzan within like 30 years of the main story in this AU. Okay.
Yeah. And what was I gonna say? One thing that I think would be interesting is because if we say that he is indebted to Tanjuro, and if Tanjuro is still Tanjiro's dad, he still gets with Kie, and we need a reason why the other kids aren't his. Well, maybe, Tanjiro was like, listen, I'm having a kid. It's your job to watch over him. I can't stick around here. I'll get them killed. So, your job, Muzan, is to watch over this woman I like and my kid. Well, Kie.
Oh
no.
Oh no.
Okay,
No.
So Kie is still Tanjuro's wife, and all the kids are, except for Nezuko, as we're trying to think about, are part of basically Tanjuro's kids. And then he's basically saying, I can't be around. They need a father figure. He says, Muzan, go do it.
Muzan, be their dad. Which is the worst possible idea ever if we're gonna do original personality Muzan.
Yeah, that's not good.
What I think is even better is if it's just Tanjiro, Nezuko is the next oldest child. Well, it's like, well, what if Kie is like, well, I have my needs. I need to be taken care of in more ways than one. Muzan's job is to take care of me, and Muzan's like, what? No, I'm just doing a job. Like, no, this is not happening.
Oh no.
It happens like 6 times.
So then,
remember, kids, this is a Title IX violation.
Indeed.
I mean, technically speaking, if Kie is the one who initiated it, I don't understand how it's Title IX, so to speak. If it's consensual, so if anything, technically that's just cheating, and then the event.
I'm talking about like if it's like any kind of coercion, that would be a Title IX violation.
I mean, I find again, like, it's just like again, like I understand, but still, like it's consensual for the most part. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like it's. I mean, if
It's
Muzan
also
agrees
just
to
kind
it,
of funny.
yeah, if Muzan agrees to it, but decides not to get coerced, like let's put it this way: if Kia is blackmailing him for some secret, then yes, I agree. But if she's just asking him, like, and just whatnot, like, can you give me something? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? Then that's not necessarily a violation now, would it be?
Yeah, no. I'm just saying if
Muzan, I need you to
she,
give me something. Okay, what is it? I need you to give me it. Wait, what? What?
no,
As long-
I'm just saying if she asks for it, he refuses, and she persistently asks for it, and he does not give a free yes, that would be a violation. I'm just putting that out there. Anyways, at the Breath of Fiction, we do not condone any kind of violence of that type. Please use consent, kids.
We also don't
I mean, if it
condone
happens more than
NTR.
5 times, I'm pretty sure eventually he consents.
We do not condone NTR on this server.
I'm playing around. Let's be honest, if Kiei is really that hot. I
Okay,
don't think he's liking it.
if we say she asks him a second time, he gives a free yes because he's horny too.
Whatever.
Or he just wants her to shut up because he's anti-empathetic. I feel like that's more Muzan's character.
I guess. Okay.
Woman, please.
He's like, will you shut up if I do it? And then she's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, fine.
And then he's like, you lied to me. You shut up all night. She's like, what? You didn't like it? I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I know. But yeah. So we could say that this is the basic setup of the story. Tanjuro is the Demon King. Made him. He was a doctor back in the day. He made his mistakes. He's been trying to live a good life, but he struggles sometimes because he does have these urges that he controls to eat people. In the past, they may not have survived. Currently, he has Tanjiro.
Wait a minute. He controls his urges. So, what do we want to say his motivation for spreading demons are, if there is more than one demon other than Tanjuro, so to speak?
I definitely think his biggest motivation is mercy.
Maybe he just wants to be like, hey, this like immortality treatment is working pretty well. I feel like this won't. This definitely
there's
won't
the
go
ethical
wrong.
question. No, but there's the ethical questions. Would he tell them, A, you have to eat flesh, and B, would he know that they're eating flesh and he controls himself? Because here's the thing: his personality wouldn't mesh with demons taking innocent lives. So if they're going to keep taking innocent lives, that would mean that there's no hive mindset here, so to speak.
And I definitely think that ties into really what makes demons demons. Muzan is a very controlling and self-centered person. His demons are all an extension of himself, and he doesn't care about them as people very much.
But he cares enough about them to basically say, you do something that I can see, and then you be useful to me. So he keeps an eye on them just for his own selfishness, so to speak.
Tanjuro, on the other hand, I think would once again be very merciful. I don't think he would force them to eat people. He would tell them, listen, I can't make it so you don't want to eat people, but you do get the urge and you do get stronger if you eat people. But try and be responsible. I'm not going to tell you not to eat people, but if you want to stay on my good side, be responsible.
Basically, kill the people that nobody would miss, aka the people who are the assholes who abuse others and just basically make their livings ripping off people.
And Inosuke's biological dad. Fuck him.
And his biological grandmother.
Yes, fuck her too.
What did she do?
No, Inosuke's dad's mom abused.
Oh yeah,
as
fuck
well.
that woman. Fuck her. Like, I hate those two. The only person I hate more than those two is Shitsugawa.
Why not kill Shitsugawa then?
Yes, kill Shitsugawa early, very early.
No, but again, again, that also becomes the idea is like, would Tanjuro clean up his messes?
I think he would.
But he
And-
wouldn't. But that would also imply there's times where a lot of times where he doesn't necessarily clean up his messes, so to speak, because the demon slayers
Well-
have to exist in some way.
Yes, but I also think part of the problem is I don't think he would have the hive mind because he's not as self-centered as Muzan. He wouldn't want to always be in control of everyone. So he doesn't have that link to his demons. He doesn't always know what they're doing or what they're thinking. He doesn't
All
have the
right.
curse.
Then answer me this: he over 1,000 years, he would have clearly heard that demons kill people and eat them. Yes, sure, but then he probably would have heard that some demons are killing people more than one. And put it this way: when it happens more than like 3 times, you start to think something's up. So he would probably notice and hear that there are demons, and there's a tendency for demons to start killing innocent people. Wouldn't that necessarily make him want to do a hive mind thing just to keep an eye so that they're not killing people? Like that's what you would do if you want keep an eye on people, so make sure they're not misbehaving. So
I think what I think he'll end up doing is that he'll be more selective. Rather than create a hive mind, that suggests, he doesn't trust you enough. Why would he even turn you? Instead, he tries to keep them closer and he tries to be more selective. The only people I can think of at the moment who I'm like, okay, this is who he would turn to a demon and why. The first one on my list is he would turn Koyuki to save her life. And he would turn Hakuji with Koyuki so they could be together. I also think he would turn Kotoha, likely after she was injured by Duma or something of such. And then by extension, he would likely turn the rest of the family. Or maybe he turned Herschel Marshall, like a back.
I
By
mean,
the way,
I don't know.
everyone,
I mean,
Herschel Marshall is DCC's OC. He is the father of Kotoha, and he is an American vet. The more you know.
We don't ever see. I mean, if this is in this AU, if you want to go on your thing, that's fine. But I mean, we don't ever. The more I think about it, the more I think that Kotoha's parents in Canada kind of died on her. You know what I mean? Or either that, or they sold her.
Yeah, they would never.
Either that, or they
never
didn't
let
care,
that
or they sold
asshole
her. Let's put it
abuse
that way.
her.
Basically, they either didn't care or they both died. That's what I think. So I don't know
But
necessarily.
I like to throw Herschel into the mix because you can't prove he doesn't exist.
You can't prove it, but I would say that one thing we are probably certain of is that the parents didn't care enough that we would think of in modern times.
In canon, yes.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, what I'm just saying is like if you do put in a Kotoha dad like Herschel Marshall, which I love putting in, I stand the idea of a Marshall family because Kotoha, like it, I like her character being a wild character. We don't see much of her, but it feels better to give her an edge instead of her just being a pretty face.
Okay, so the thing about Kotoha's parents I want to mention is Kotoha kind of has a naive, trusting personality. And she's like, not the most street smart. So I would say that seeing how she is, I don't think her parents were neglectful or they were like uncaring people. Because like if they were, I probably think someone like Kotoha would not like last long in such a household. That's my 2 cents.
I mean,
But
at the end of the day, any speculation of any role of Kotoha's, regardless of whether they're Japanese or not, or whatever nationality is, we don't know it. So everything is just pure conjecture on what we think. Basically, it's an OC for all intents and purposes.
But back on topic, we could either have Kotoha be born a demon from someone who Tanjuro very much trusted, or being turned into a demon, and Inosuke and any of her family would come along with her once again in that way. And I would definitely have Kotoha take over the position of Upper Moon 2, and she definitely, take over Duma's
I mean,
ult.
one thing we could do, I mean, if we want to exclude the whole family part of it, is that obviously we have, like, Tanjuro would turn Kotoha because Kotoha tried to flee as a human without anyone else, along with Inosuke, to the cult thing. And then we know that from the extras, the the shit husband and his mom went to the cult to get Katoha back, and then they kind of and Doma and Demon threw him out. So we could say that they went there. Doma didn't necessarily reject them, but as a result, Katoha kind of suffered a bit more while she was there as well. And remember, she wasn't healed like her injuries, and she's still bruised and whatnot. So then Tanjuro came and actually gave her reprieve by turning into a demon, which allowed her to deal with the neglectful Doma, so to speak, and the family, the in-laws and husband who were being assholes to her.
Yeah,
So I
fuck
would
those
think. So I would think that Inosuke would have been born before that, and he was born a human. Just saying.
Yeah. I always viewed Tanjiro and Inosuke as like a really good buddy friend pair, like rivalry pair. So I like to keep them on the same plane. That's why I would enjoy to see a demon Inosuke.
So then Inosuke would have a different personality if he stays with his mom, then, because he wasn't raised by boars, so to speak.
But that's also part of why I like the idea of, Doha being, a more wild personality and having it run the family, because I love having wild Inosuke. He could be more civilized, but still be that wild out there character.
Okay, so
he could be
according
raised
to,
alongside wild animals.
Okay, so according to this, that basically that means we have OC level Kotoha, more than like canon based, like in terms of personality, so to speak. Okay.
I mean, is there much to canon Kotoha?
Beyond like her not being wild and just being more gentle, so to speak, from what we do know of her, yeah, not really. But I would say that if she did have a wild personality, I think she would have stuck up more to her in-laws more than anything.
Maybe she had like
I
a
mean,
latent.
she ran away from them. That's a pretty big
Maybe
step.
she had a latent wild personality because like when like she did bite her own husband, like, and then like fled away from them.
Well, the thing is, like, this was she tolerated the abuse for a while before she ran away, but more or less, she's not like a complete wild animal who gets provoked at the slightest insult, so to speak.
But you need to poke her a little bit to like actually provoke her.
You need to go beyond a threshold of tolerance. But yeah, so you were saying
earlier topic. Give me a second. I need to blow my nose. Okay, maybe not. Wait. Okay, I think we're good. Wait, no. Okay, sorry, my nose is fine today. To go along with this, I feel like the presence of the demon slayers does require that there be bad demons, but I don't think Tanjiro would approve of them. So I feel like it would create a bit of a three-front war. And that, at least from an outside perspective of an audience, or at least from the Slayer's perspective, and even maybe from Tanjiro's perspective, they wouldn't realize it's a three-front war, because they don't realize that the Tanjiro is against those demons, and these would likely be derived from older demons who did lose his trust, did go against him. After years, they did indulge in eating, they did create new demons, and they did kill people. And they did make things very bad. And that would be kind of, your main antagonist, but it also pulls all these sides against each other.
So basically, there's a rebellion against Tanjuro, so to speak, as a benefactor.
And because he's not a hive mind, and he doesn't control them as tightly as Muzan, he has less control over what they do. Therefore, the rebellion is an actual threat to everyone.
Essentially, he could make a hive mind to start and try and squash the rebellion, but he puts his morals over actual practicality, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay.
Which makes things good.
So then here's the real question. Who's the big bad that's like the person who's like that would be turned and then would just essentially go on a basically want to usurp Tanjuro? Because that would imply he turned somebody he really should not have turned.
Maybe an evil Kaguya or something?
Oh my god. Okay, I have an idea.
Actually, hold on. So, are we saying the Ubiyashikis have a disease still, or are they related to Tanjuro? Because essentially, the Ubiyashikis were cursed because they were blood related to Muzan. So, are we replacing the bloodline connection with them?
No, okay. So what if the doctor, okay, is related to Muzan and the Ubiyashikis? He is the one who gets turned.
That's
But
Tanjuro. We just said that earlier.
oh yeah,
Well,
no,
we could say
the
that they're two
original
separate
doctor.
people.
No, the original doctor. He gets turned by Tanjuro. He's like jealous because he's like, "How are you the better doctor? Oh my god. I bet you don't even have like your like step 1 done yet." And then the doctor who turned Muzan in the original story becomes the big bad.
We could do that.
So are we gonna suggest that? No, actually. So then, how would if we keep Muzan human, how would the Ubishikis get cursed by heaven, so to speak?
So I have a few ideas to throw out there for you guys. Firstly, we could say that we can replace the Ubiyashikis. We can make them, the big bads, and then we could replace their position in the story with the Sujakunis. We could say, maybe Yorichi and Tanjiro were actually very close. Maybe they were even family. We don't know. Could have someone like, the Tokitos or even Michikatsu take over that role of the Ubiyashikis. Conversely, we could also make one of them the big bad. Either Yorichi or Michikatsu becoming Kokushibu could become the big bads of the stories. There's a few kind of big characters you can kind of slot into those roles and shuffle things around.
I have here. I mean, I have a suggestion. If we want to keep the thread of the doctor being the Ubiyashiki, like being related to the Ubiyashikis, and he's being the big bad, we could in place of Muzan, that would explain why the Ubiyashikis are cursed, and we could have them be whatever, no less. Not necessarily because Tanjuro is cursed, but because the one who's actually causing this rebellion, so to speak, is the one who's cursing. Because we see, like, you're damned if you start like behaving it badly as a demon, so to speak.
And we could also say that, Tanjuro, similar to my AU, wasn't the doctor. He was the doctor's student. Maybe he didn't turn himself into a demon. Maybe the doctor did. We don't know. We could kind of play around with a few things here to work out the best setup for the lore.
It's interesting, but either way, we could just keep. If we would probably keep the Ubiyashikis within this as well, if they're trying to keep Kagaya and Kiryu within the story as well.
Yeah. Starting off the story, do you think it would make more sense to have Tanjiro send a demon to collect Tanjiro and things go bad and it kills Muzan, or to have the big bad, whoever it be, send someone to kill Muzan and Tanjiro and the whole
I would think the second one is more likely.
Didn't you say Tanjiro like gets pissed that like Muzan had sex with his wife and then like
I mean, especially if you've been getting betrayed like more and more often over the past 1,000 years, I would definitely get pissed.
If we do it this way? Tanjuro, we mixed the two. So Tanjuro was sending somebody to go get Tanjiro in Nezuko, so to speak, and then the big bad sent someone who got there beforehand, was able to kill everyone, including Muzan, besides Tanjiro and Nezuko. And then he also manages to like kill the messenger, like the big bad's thing, or rather, at least essentially drive him away, so to speak. And then in the process, somehow, I'm not entirely sure, we could debate about this, but Tanjuro, through the messenger, learns that Nezuko isn't exactly his kid. So then he gets pissed and wants to kill Nezuko. But Tanjiro, not willing to let that happen, decides to not go to his dad, so to speak, and tries to go find like demon slayers, or like try to just run away before finding the demon slayers. And then that creates a fact where Tanjiro doesn't hate his only son, but he wants to kill the half sibling that's not actually his. And then Tanjiro is opposed to both of them. The big bad, because the big bad killed the family, and his own father, because his own father is opposed to his little sister.
Now,
I can roll that.
So next two
Yes.
characters we could have Tanjuro send, because I feel like some of these characters would definitely fit into people that Tanjiro would side with. We could send Makomo, Sabito.
But we want to keep those in Gyu's backstory, though.
Well,
Which
not
I think
Makomo.
Sabito or Mokomo could actually work really well.
I would think
Because-
Mokomo then, just to keep the Sabito connection. Because technically, Gyu never knew Makomo. He did know Sabito, so we could easily move Makomo into this role.
Okay. But the only I would suggest Sabito is we could have that Gyu believes Sabito died and that he was eaten by a demon during final selection when he was actually turned by a demon and had to flee final selection.
Hey, that's my
So the hand
storyline with
demon
Makomo.
so basically we have the hand demon gets interfered is one of the big bad's demons, but then we also have they captured innocent demons, or rather Tanjuro's demons. One got in there, saved Sabito, but then Sabito had to be turned to get saved, so to speak. So we want to have that. So basically, the DSC doesn't care. Basically, they're like the bigots we see with the Hashira in canon, at least with the first movie.
The Trumpists.
They don't care whether they're good demons or bad. They just know that they're demons. So they put whatever they can find
and that
in
could
the source.
And if we do follow the storyline, it can add a lot of final act tension where Gyu and Sabito are confronting each other, and it's like, how can you be a demon? You were like a brother to. It's like you don't understand. Demons aren't bad. There are bad demons and there are bad slayers. We choose who we are.
Okay, so we have the three factions. We have an idea of why Tanjiro, if we keep the whole half sister Nezuko thing, we have an idea why Tanjiro doesn't ally with his father for Nezuko's sake, so to speak. All right, and then
oh yeah, this is getting spicy.
Oh yeah, boy.
So, we could have someone simple like the Temple Demon be the bad demon who kills the family. But my big question is,
that wimp isn't gonna do anything to Kie. We need someone stronger.
So if we have this idea, like the Temple Demon is sent, the Temple Demon would fight off Sabito for a bit, and then obviously Sabito would kill said demon, I would think. But in the process, Sabito becomes aware and rather lets it slip that Tanjuro wants Nezuko dead now because Nezuko is essentially not his kid. And then then the battle shifts away from the house for whatever reason, and then Tanjiro has to go and run. So I'm assuming he doesn't bury them because he has to get Nezuko away.
Now, just a few thoughts. First question: do we want to separate Tanjiro and Nezuko?
I mean, we probably don't, because the whole purpose of Tanjiro not joining his dad is he wants to protect his sister because his dad wants to kill her. So, I think he should stay with Nezuko.
Let's think of it this way. Where would Nezuko go if not with Tanjiro? Because Tanjiro's demons are going to want to kill her, and the big bad demons want to kill anyone related to Tanjiro anyway.
And this is where my next point is going to come in. We could say that either, Sabito can't immediately tell Tanjiro that, Muzan had, children with the girl he liked. Tanjiro might not know that yet. So maybe they do go with Sabito for a bit. They feel safe, they feel protected. But when the news gets to Tanjiro, Sabito gets the order to kill Nezuko. And this is where you can introduce Gyu, or you can introduce him earlier, and you can try and force a split where maybe Tanjiro wants to go with Sabito, but he's caught because he wants to protect his sister, and Nezuko can get brought into the Demon Slayers through Gyu. So you could either split them, or kind of depending on how you do the timing and the details, have them go either way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you guys' thoughts? How would you want that to play out?
I mean, one thing I think we could say is Nezuko is before Sabito gets there. Nezuko is infected by that. Like, let's put it this way: maybe maybe when the temple demon attacks, he's ordered to kill people, but then in the middle of the attack, the demon he gets the idea, or rather, maybe the big bad demon gives him the idea of an attack that, hey, why don't you just turn some of the brats just to like get under Tanjuro's nerves, and then that's how Nezuko ends up becoming a demon, or at least becoming a demon. But then Sabito gets there to prevent that on Tanjiro, so to speak, or something, if anything.
Oh yeah, okay. That
Well,
is
actually, do we want to have?
geniusly delicious.
Well, actually, do we want to get Tanjiro? Do we want to have Tanjiro? Sorry. Do we want to have Tanjiro with Saburo at the bottom of the mountain before the attack, though, or do we want to have him there?
Well, I think the real question that I want to ask is, do we want to have Nezuko become a demon or a slayer?
I think that if they, I mean, the entire premise of the plot is, do we want to save Nezuko from? And the idea is, like in this case, Tanjiro wants to save his sister from both sides, so to speak. You know, the demons who want to kill them just because they're associated with Tanjuro's family, and then there's also the demons who are Tanjuro's, like, and the big bads who want to kill them for whatever. You know what I mean? So he has
Yeah.
to go with the demon slayer, so to speak. Like, it gives, like, the stakes are, like, we need Tanjuro to want Nezuko dead, and then we need Tanjiro to not want to go to either side, so to speak, of the demons anyway.
Okay.
So we have to establish that as a fact. I mean, we could do the whole. I mean, we could maybe if Tanjiro is down on the mountain with Saburo, I think it's Saburo, yes, and then he comes back to see like Nezuko's and still hasn't been turned. Maybe that's the result of Sabito getting there mid-attack. They meet Sabito there, then they could go with Sabito before the whole Gyu thing shows up. Like he gets back to the house and then whatnot. If we want to go that.
Wait, did you just say Subaru by any chance?
Saburo.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I don't remember ReZero getting involved.
Saburo. I'm an idiot. Never mind. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Saburo.
Subaru?
Yeah, when
No,
Demon Slayer
this
became
isn't
an
real
isekai.
life. This isn't real life. No. Yeah, Saburo. But essentially, yeah, that's what I think we could do if we were dead set on getting the whole going with Sabito thing. But if we were saying he doesn't go with Sabito and then yet he decides to go with the Demon Slayers, we could have Tanjiro there mid-attack. Any thoughts on that? Anyone?
I think it'd be a good idea, actually.
Which one?
Honestly, which idea?
Yeah, the one where Tanjiro isn't at the house, and then, or the one Tanjiro is at the house and sees Sabito.
Honestly, I have to lean slightly towards the one where he's actually at the house and meets Sabito. Just slightly. I just lean slightly towards that.
Okay. I mean, from a narrative standpoint, I think we could do the whole. Saburo. He's at Saburo, so he doesn't know about any of this until he gets back to the house. Nezuko is there, and then Sabito shows up to like take both back because he's found out. Like maybe, actually, you know, we could reframe it like this: he goes with Sabito because now Sabito has orders from Tanjuro to take Nezuko back with him because he wants to kill her, and then wants to take Tanjiro with him because Tanjiro is still his oldest son. And then while they're going, Sabito lets it slip that apparently Tanjiro wants Nezuko dead, and then that gives the impetus for Tanjiro to disown his dad and then just run away. And then we could have the whole Gyu confrontation, or he does this during a time when Sabito isn't like around to do it, so to speak.
Yeah, I can go with that. My apologies. There's something else going on in the background. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we have our opening set up. Do we want to move into what we think a good first arc would be?
I mean, if Tanjiro joins the Demon Slayers, he's going to be keeping a very, very massive secret that he is the Demon King's son, so to speak, and he has to keep that from everybody.
And I
Hey,
think the biggest
Tanjiro,
part of that
doesn't
secret is can he come out in the sunlight?
Who?
hey Tanjiro,
Tanjiro.
doesn't your name sound like Tanjiro?
Oh, my mom was a huge fan. Don't worry about it. It's nothing.
Wait, Tanjiro's a demon?
Yes, his dad's a demon.
But then how? No, but then his mom's a human though.
Yes.
It's confusing. Honestly, if you're gonna go into whole whole reproductive genetics with demon blood, it's a little bit difficult. Honestly. I mean, I was under the impression he was half, like he was a hybrid, so to speak.
Like James?
We could do that.
Like I was thinking he was a hybrid, like half and half, and then that's the reason why his family was killed. And then maybe that's why, and maybe like when the attack happened, when he was down at Saburo's house, it took a while for some of them to pass out, or rather, why it took a while for Nez and for whatever. You know what I mean? And why
Yeah,
Nez
so like
and why
I
Nezuko's
think
a full demon now, because technically she was never a demon in the first place.
I think we could like go the James route with him. If
So
you know
partial
what.
sun resistance.
Yep.
I mean, he's not entirely a demon, and plus he hasn't eaten he's part human. So I would think that it's not necessarily because he's a demon with sun resistance so much as his human half keeps him sun resistant. But he notes that he himself is weak under the sun a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
he
he
has
just
no
fe-
regeneration.
Like he rather I should say it's like he's like Kagura from Gintama. Like when she's under the sun, she kind of feels like a bit nauseous, so to speak. Like Tanjiro probably feels a little bit like weak, like in terms of like his body under the sun, but it's not. It's because of his demon half being suppressed, but his human half is keeping him alive, so to speak. Whereas
And if we do humanize Nezuko because we don't have, the demons being created in the way that Muzan does, I feel like we could have a fully expressive Nezuko from the start, who's more active of a character.
Wait, so the big bad via the temple demon turns Nezuko. So we're saying it's not like traditional demon turning Muzan?
Yes. Otherwise,
So then how would they get turned?
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back. So
Because
then,
if that there is the one demon king and that is Tanjuro, then all demons below him kind of have to obey his rules of turning to a degree. We also have to allow that, they can still turn demons so that they can spread without him. But we also would have to, they're not under the same, like they can't be under the same rules as Muzan because Muzan's not here. If anything, they would follow the rules of Tanjuro. If that makes sense.
I mean, they all know, but the thing is, like, the process of turning Nezuko into a demon. Like, the deal with turning humans into demons in canon. Muzan literally injects enough blood, not enough to kill them and enough to disintegrate them. That's what I mean. Like, how would Nezuko be turned? Are we saying it's like traditional demons?
Yeah, I would assume so. That yes, it's a blood transfer.
Okay, that's what I was confused. Like you're saying that doesn't work for Nezuko. Okay, but I get it.
Because you're the one who suggested that the temple demon might turn her into a demon.
No, yeah, but you were saying like Nezuko, but we're saying like the whole idea Nezuko is fully expressive in this case. So and that's because it's coming from the big bad's demons, not from Tanjuro's directly, so to speak. Like, I mean, if we're saying that all demons come from Tanjuro,
wouldn't the big bad's demons also be derived from Tanjuro? So they would still derive from similar.
I can see what you mean by that. So, okay, interesting.
We could say that the big bad does have more control of the demons that he's created, and if you're directly tied to him instead of directly tied to Tanjuro, then the rules are different, and they could be more Muzan-like, and then you do have a more repressed Nezuko.
I mean, really why not? I mean, why not the big bad? I mean, if the big bad broke the curse, or rather broke like the connection. Like, remember, we see that Nezuko and Tamayo do it in canon towards Muzan, so to speak. So we could have the big bad do something like that too. Like, he has an even further degree of separation than Tanjuro allows with his other demons. because like he full on rebelled, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the whole blood transfer thing and the fact that most demons retain their memories when they get it is still a thing for the most part. Okay, so then that would mean Nezuko. That would explain Nezuko is fully expressive. Okay. All right, so that's the opening scene, and then so the whole thing, like Tanjiro flees with demon Nezuko from Sabito, so to speak.
He's like, I'm out.
Well, it might be that they get the slip on Sabito for a moment, and that's when they run into Giyu. And when Sabito sees Giyu for a distance, he just freezes up and he's like,
Oh fuck.
do I get involved? This is really bad.
I would think he wouldn't, just because he doesn't want to because he knows that demon slayers kill any demon on sight, so to speak, and he doesn't want, and he's a bit like guilty that he let Giyu think he was dead because he sees his old Haori with Giyu wearing it, like the half of it anyway. We could say like he loses his Haori in the final selection rounds. So
He's like, oh no, I ain't messing with you.
And it's more like I can't face him again because he is like too guilty because he realizes what Giyu wearing the Haori means. It means like he thinks that he's dead, so to speak.
Just Sabito looking down from the cliff at Tanjiro as Giyu walks up. He just gets like the anime blush and goes, "Oh no, it's senpai."
Technically, he's the senpai. Technically, that would be Kohai then. It's the reverse.
Oh no, it's Kohai.
Either way, so that happens, and then Sabito kind of just lets them leave. I can imagine that Tanjuro is very unhappy with him because he's like at the end of that.
He's like, why did you let them leave? And Sabito was like, ooh, I saw my Kohai, ooh.
It could also be, once again, there is no hive mind. He doesn't know exactly what happened.
No, that's why Sabito later goes back to Tanjuro without them, and then tells them he doesn't have them, and he let them go. And then Tanjuro questions why.
And he could say, "Well, I let them go. I couldn't find them. They were attacked by a demon.
We were attacked by a demon from one of his demons, like one of the doctor's demons, so to speak."
Exactly. And he has a perfect alibi.
That is true.
Question. Should Tanjuro still have a 12 Kazuki, or are we going to give that to the doctor? Or do they both have their own variant of it?
I mean, I would think that Tanjuro would ask demons more or less if they're useful. Like, he's not going to do a whole ranking or blood battles thing. I would think it's more like if a demon can do something for him in the area, he'll ask them to do it for him. But I think the 12 Kizuku thing would be more for like the Doctor Demon.
Yeah, I think Tanjuro would be like, he has a contact list full of people, and if he like needs help, he'll just be like, what? Moshi moshi.
So, do we give him a term for that group, or is it too loose to have a title?
His constituent.
I think it's too loose, more or less. Or at least for Tanjuro. For the Doctor, he probably has a 12th Kizuki like variation.
How much time we got left?
We got about 10 minutes or so.
Do we want to roughly place where the demons we know of from canon would go, like to which side and who they might be with, and then we'll pick up next time maybe with doing Slayers and then plot?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So, Temple Demon we already put with the Doctor. What about the Swamp Demon?
Doctor.
Yeah, he's a pedo. I don't think Tanjuro would want him around.
Yeah, he'd be a bad guy.
Handy.
That would also be with the Doctor, just because it gives the impetus for him wanting to kill Sabito before one of the Tanjuro's demons saves him from the hand demon and turns him. So that would be more.
True.
That has to probably, based on what we've discussed, has to be the Doctor Demon.
True.
Kyogai.
I feel like Tanjuro.
Yeah,
Tanjuro would give him.
You could give him to
Tanjuro-
Tanjiro. I feel like Tanjiro could make someone useful out of him.
No, but also
Yeah,
it's also like let's put it this way: he's not overtly like bloodthirsty. So to speak, Kill Guy was more or less, you know what I mean? He was more of the despair
Impressed.
demon. Okay,
Rui.
Tanjuro.
I agree. I think Rui would get to actually have his family. I think Tanjiro would turn because I'm sure Rui's parents would go along with it. Like, yes, if you can save our child, we'll do whatever it takes. Like, we'll go with him.
Honestly, I see the idea that Tanjuro does the explanation. The parents object to it, but Rui, in his secret, goes to ask Tanjuro about being turned, and then leaves the family, and it says I'm healthy now, and I did what I have to do, but thank you, whatever. More than just getting turned, because
that could also work really well.
Because I think Rui doesn't kill his parents, but he does leave them because he knows he disobeyed. They're not going to like it, but he wants them to let them know that he is going to be healthier and happier, and he says thank you for everything, so to speak. So he kind of leaves them.
I like that. We have a lot of the lower moons who we don't have many details on, so I don't want to jump into them
All
right
right.
now.
I'll just say this: Enmu is probably the Doctor Demon.
He's like,
Yeah,
hey,
I feel like it's a bit too
drugs?
wild, a bit too crazy.
The lower demon ranks we can kind of fill with time if we need to, but let's go on to the upper ranks. We already said that Hakuji and Koyuki are probably with Tanjuro, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gyutaro and Daki.
Does Daki still get burned and Gyutaro still get slashed?
Well, even so, like Gyutaro's not necessarily a malicious person. He just does what he has to survive in that environment and to keep Daki safe.
We could do something where Tanjuro turns both of them because they're dying, so to speak, but then Gyutaro gets a little too greedy for what he's doing and then defects.
I actually really like that because I was thinking, they would both go to Tanjuro, but you could have it that, maybe he's like, well, maybe Daki doesn't really need me around. So, or Yume doesn't really need me around, so he kind of leaves her. He's like, you'll be happier here. I'll just go on my way. Or even he's like, I want more. This isn't satisfying me. You get to live a nice little life now. I'm gonna go off and do my own thing.
I mean, I understand that, but honestly, the siblings love we get in the sibling loyalty we get in the extras and in the manga makes me think that either Ume would follow Gyutaro or Gyutaro would stay with Tanjuro, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: if Gyutaro does leave Ume with Tanjuro, Ume probably isn't going to stay with Tanjuro and try to go find her brother somewhere.
Fair.
So she's like a wandering demon looking for Gyutaro, but she's not exactly with Tanjuro, so to speak. Or rather, she's like one Gyutaro encounter away from Tanjuro before defecting, so to speak. She's on the periphery.
Gyoko.
That is he's an asshole. He goes to the
He's a bad guy.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The guy killed his bully and then stuffed him into a pot and mutilated his corpse to make art in quotes. There's no, even as a human, there's no way that that Tanjuro is turning this asshole.
Tengu.
Actually,
Tengu is an ass.
Actually,
okay?
We could do something where a lot of people who are asses are in it. Or rather, we could say that Hantengu was. We could say this. We could say that Gyoko was saved from death by Tanjuro, but he made a mistake, and then Gyoko just defected within 10 minutes flat of learning to live with it because he was too much of an asshole. But then we could say that Hantengu was just turned by the Doctor Demon in general. because Tantengo was alive and was saved by Muzan and canon. He wasn't dying, so to speak.
Okay, that's interesting. One potential thought I had is, you could have Hantengo really be on both sides. Like maybe at some point, like he couldn't reconcile, you know, his emotions because he does split, and like half him goes to each side.
Maybe one of the emotions goes to Tanjuro and the other emotions go to the demon. Because I think there was only one emotion, if I'm mistaken, which I could see with the demon king Tanjuro, so to speak.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting.
Yeah, one emotion is with Tanjuro, and then the rest are with the demon, with the doctor demon, so to speak. All right.
What?
Doma?
Do we make him a demon or do we just kill him off?
We could do this. Doma Kotoha gets turned by Tanjuro, and then she basically like gives payback to the family members. May not necessarily kill them because Tanjuro forbids it, or rather, she does kill them because they're no one who can miss, and rather Doma just gets like thrashed because he was indifferent. So then maybe Doma has a bit of a like vendetta, so to speak, and then he goes with the Doctor Demon when the Doctor Demon finds him.
Okay. And lastly, do we want to decide on Kokushibu?
I mean, we said you were talking about Yorichi and Tanjuro being connected earlier, and we know that a big part of the Kokushibo turning is Tanjuro's thing. So one thing I could suggest is if Tanjuro, like maybe Tanjuro turned Kokushibo because Kokushibo wanted a way to learn to surpass his brother, and then he gave him instructions, because it wasn't necessarily a bloodthirsty turning, so to speak. You know what I mean? So we could say that,
Yeah.
but it would depend also on how did Yorichi take it. If we decide to make Yorichi Tanjuro, so to speak. So we might want to save this for another episode.
Yeah, that's kind of why I phrased it that way, is because I'm like, he is definitely the most difficult and complex of the people on this list so far to place.
Yeah, I can see that.
So what did you guys think about this AU so far? I feel like it was actually a lot more difficult and interesting to discuss than initially.
Oh yeah, there are so many
Indeed.
things that can like happen.
Yeah, honestly, when you make complex things like when we did Ghost World and we start including character dynamics, it becomes a bit of an issue. So yeah, that could be it. It's definitely difficult, so to speak.
I definitely think it has a lot of potential because it's very interesting the ways you can mix up characters. A lot of the times, characters tend to sit on one side of the fence, and if you turn the fence around, they're still on the same side. I feel like with this AU, you have a lot of potential to mix things up.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it depends on how far we go because it also, it also depends on how we decide to frame some of the demons when they're interacting. So we can answer that later, though. But it is going to be complex. There's no doubt about that in the next when we discuss it again.
Any final notes?
All I gotta say is I look forward to looking at this again.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, especially when we have to get to the idea of Tanjiro and Nezuko kind of revealing that they're related to rather Tanjiro and revealing that he's the son of the demon progenitor. Although it'll be interesting to see. Let's just put it that way.
All right. I also gotta say we gotta keep track of like what episodes so far are multi-part series.
Yeah, we should mark it with.
No, I have it. Don't worry.
You do?
I've been doing that. Then. I mean, if we've had an episode where we need to do a part 2 or a part 3, I made note of it.
All right.
So we're good on this end. So we know that we have Demon King Tanjuro part 2 in the works.
Absolutely. This is a great AU idea. Thanks, DCC.
No problem. My brain doesn't shut up, so enjoy.
Welcome to the club, pal.
Yep, same here.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning into The Breath of Fiction. You have a wonderful night, and we hope to see you again next time.
All right, later, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Have a
Bye.
beautiful time.